Welcome to the Wicket.
Hello and welcome to The Wicket, a new weekly cricket podcast by Arab News that will look at the latest news and results from all around the Middle East, Asia and the world. I'm Brian Murgatroyd, and with me today and every week will be Arab News cricket correspondent Jon Pike. Good morning, Jon. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you very much, Brian. Good to be here and looking forward to this new venture.
Yes, it should be fun. And of course, it should especially be fun because of what we've got in prospect over the next month and a half. We've got the Cricket World Cup on the horizon. Yes, it's 10 teams: England, India, New Zealand, Australia, Pakistan, South Africa, Sri Lanka, the Netherlands, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. The last time, certainly for the foreseeable future, that we'll have a 10-team World Cup. It's all to look forward to in India. And England are the defending champions. Let's talk about all the teams that are taking part, Jon, and let's look at what we might call the favourites first of all. England, as the defending champions, can we mark them down as favourites, or should that tag go to India as the hosts?
No, I think India should be tagged favourites because of their home advantage, not only in terms of knowledge of conditions, but also the sort of feverish support that they have. One aspect of that is that maybe the expectations are so high that they've got an awful lot to live up to, and we'll see how that plays out. But I would certainly have them down as favourites at this point.
Well, you mentioned home advantage there for India, Jon. I've crunched the numbers. Obviously, in the last 3 World Cups, the host country or the co-host has won, but prior to that, it was pretty slim pickings for the hosts. It's odd, really, that, isn't it? Because you think of cricket and cricketers these days as being very global, used to playing all around the world. And yet, over the last 3 editions of this tournament, it's home advantage that's ruled the roost.
I think you need to look a bit more closely on that. If you take the last World Cup, of course, England won, but by the barest, slimmest of margins. They could so easily have lost that match to New Zealand. There was doom and gloom when they lost to Pakistan, if you recall, before the semi-finals. So I'd be a bit sceptical about when home advantage played a large part in England's victory. I think the previous one, well, of course, it was an Australia-New Zealand final. The co-hosts were Australia and New Zealand. So Australia were the strongest team, I think, in that tournament. So maybe it played a part then. And certainly in 2011, India as champions on Indian soil, I think, yes, it would play a part then. But if you go back into longer history, the first 3 World Cups were in England, the West Indies, won, I think, twice, wasn't it? They were the strongest team in the world, and most of their players had great experience of playing in English conditions. They played English county cricket. So I don't think it was a particular surprise. England approached one-day cricket, I think, in a rather pedestrian fashion at that time. And of course, India won in England the 3rd World Cup, probably against the odds. So I think there are other factors at play other than home advantage. I could, of course, prove wrong if India win this time.
Well, let's talk about England and India first of all, and England as the defending champions. It looks to me as though they've got all bases covered. They're the dual white ball world champions. Harry Brooks been parachuted in at the last minute for Jason Roy. Ben Stokes is back in one-day internationals as a specialist batter. And they've got 8 players by my count from that 2019 success. They look strong, don't they?
It does look strong. There's a lot of talk around the quick bowlers on all sides. On most sides have got a pretty good set of quick bowlers. Indian wickets, we don't know what they're going to produce. And it's the spinners, really. If there are advantage for the spinners, I'm not sure that, we've got Adil Rashid. I'm not sure that England are as strong as other sides in that department. That would be my main concern about whether England have got all bases covered.
Well, you mentioned there about spin, and of course India, off the back of an excellent Asia Cup success, they've made the decision to include Ravichandran Ashwin in place of Axar Patel at the 11th hour. Jasprit Bumrah, the pace bowlers, fit as well. They look impressive. And with Ashwin coming in, obviously spin quality there. But on top of that, he adds depth to their batting too, doesn't he?
Yes, it does, quite significantly. I've no issues with India's bowling. It's very strong all the way around. I think my only question mark against them is the pressure on the batters to do what they're capable of doing, given the amount of pressure that they're going to have upon them. I think that would be my only Achilles heel as far as India is concerned, whether they can cope with that pressure, particularly if they're chasing targets.
Yes, the home advantage can be a blessing and it can also be a curse. And New Zealand, well, they were the losing finalists in 2019. They were also the losing finalists when they were co-hosts in 2015. It seems to be a perennial question that so often they're the bridesmaids and not the bride. Of course, they won the inaugural ICC World Test Championship. They've got Kane Williamson back after a serious knee injury. There's Trent Boult and Tim Southey there. Devon Conway and Daryl Mitchell, two mighty impressive players over the last year or so. Have they got what it takes to challenge?
Yes, I think they have. They're everybody's favourite second team, I think, New Zealand. And they look like they've got themselves together with a strong squad just in time. It looks like they're peaking. You mentioned Kane Williamson. They're managing his fitness. If he is really fit and performs like he can do, it makes a massive difference to that team. I suspect they like to go under the radar. I suspect that they are going to probably, if you're going to talk about a surprise team, and they're not really a surprise, but if they're going to surprise, any team's going to surprise, I suspect it's going to be New Zealand.
And what about Australia, John?
Again, very strong contenders. I think they've got pretty well all bases covered. I'm not sure about the spin department. They've got Adam Zampa. Again, it depends on what wickets we're going to find. That's the only doubt I've really got against. I was surprised that they faltered against South Africa. Maybe there was a bit of complacency there. It's a swan song for some of the players. I would certainly put them in the top four.
And what about Pakistan, John? There's no Nazim Shah. He's missing with a shoulder injury sustained in the Asia Cup. He's a major loss for them. Babar Azam, though, has already said that talk of the semi-final qualification is, in his words, just a small target, and he's looking at winning the event. Well, the batting led by Babar should be fine, especially if the pitches are flat. They've got Shaheen Shah Afridi, Haris Rauf. They've got genuine pace there. Can they cope, though, with the pressure of playing in India?
One never knows how Pakistan are going to pitch up. Some strong words from Babar Azam about they weren't going to win it. Fast bowling, as you say, is a very strong card. The batting is really dependent upon Azam. I'm not sure that the rest of the batting is going to be strong enough to put them in the position that Azam's looking for. I have some doubts about whether they will be able to cope with the immense pressure that they're going to be under. But they've surprised us all in the past. So.
They certainly have, because, of course, they won the event in 1992 when they came from a long way back in Australia and New Zealand to do that. Then, after touching on those top five sides, if you like, England, India, New Zealand, Australia and Pakistan, I suppose we can come to a category that we might call the challengers, John. And within that category, I suppose we have to put previous champions, Sri Lanka. They won the event when it was in the Asian subcontinent in 1996. They've only just got into this particular tournament through the qualifier in Zimbabwe earlier this year. They're without Wanindu Hasaranga. Dushmantha Chamira, their quick bowler, is also absent. Do you give them a chance?
Very slim. I don't see them being strong enough to really challenge the top five. They also have issues with the batting. They have a captain who I think is averaging less than 10 in ODI cricket. Himself admits that he's in it for his leadership. So I think there are serious questions about the all-round strength. I wouldn't expect to see them challenge the top five.
And what about South Africa, John? They've got this tag that they've had ever since they came back onto the world stage of of struggling on the big stage itself, particularly at the back end of tournaments. I won't use the C word that is used so often in relation to South Africa and major events. But you give them a chance of doing something. They've got some players within their squad, most notably Kagiso Rabada, who is, well, an outstanding performer at any level. And he's got plenty of experience of India through the IPL, of course, but they've lost the pace of Anrich Nortje and Sisanda Mangala. They're both out through injury. Can they somehow produce something special here? I mean, they did on the eve of the tournament, of course, because they came back from 2-0 down to win 3-2 against Australia in a one-day international series last month.
Yes, I'd give them much more chance for surprise than I did for Sri Lanka. They're pretty strong, I think, all the way around. I wouldn't be surprised at all to find that they bloody a couple of noses along the way. I think they'd be my outsiders for a semi-final place.
And what about the rest, John? There are three other teams that we haven't touched on yet. The Netherlands, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Bangladesh, well, they arrive off the back of some arguments and some bickering over Tamim Iqbal's exclusion from the squad. They're led by Shakib Al Hassan. Afghanistan, they've only ever won one match at a World Cup, and that was back in 2015 against Scotland. They've got a dreadful record in this tournament in the two editions they've played. And then there's the Netherlands, who surprised everyone, I think, by qualifying for this event ahead of the likes of the West Indies, Zimbabwe and Scotland. What do you make of the prospects for those three teams?
Not very much. Take the Netherlands first, and they got there in amazing fashion, thanks really to one man as the leader, and he's certainly a player to watch in this tournament. But I'd be surprised if they make any shocks. They'll be looking probably to beat Bangladesh and Afghanistan to give themselves some semblance of respectability. The bookies have them at 750 to 1, and I think that probably tells you everything you need to know about their prospects. As you mentioned, Bangladesh, some squabbling there. They don't look very united. They've got players who I think are coming to the end of their careers, international careers. They might cause a couple of surprises, but I don't see them being in the frame for the last four. And again, Afghanistan, as you say, pretty rotten record, and I can't see that being improved this time around.
So come on then, John. Who are your four semi-finalists and why? I presume those four semi-finalists will come from that list of five that we mentioned, although you had South Africa as a bit of a bolter. I'd
be very surprised if India aren't in the final four. I'd be surprised if Australia are not. I'd be surprised if England are not. Who's going to be my fourth one? I'm picking from New Zealand, Pakistan and South Africa, and I'm going to go for New Zealand. They have plenty of experience, and they conduct themselves in proper manner. They're not fashionable to think about good behaviour in cricket, but there's a sense of integrity about them. I think that needs to be respected. Doesn't mean to say they're going to finish in the top four for that reason, but I suspect they're going to be a powerful force. So I'd put them slightly ahead of Pakistan and South Africa, but not by much. And for all we know, net run rate's going to come into the equation, as it has done in the past. We have the weather factor, possibly. Yes, there's the weather as well. I think 70% of warm-up games have been affected by rain. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that, well, I guess the weather's going to improve. Traditionally, it does at this time of year in India. It's only certain parts of India that have been affected during that warm-up stage. Yeah, I guess it's in the lap of the gods, really, in that regard. Yeah, as you mentioned, the weather's set to improve. The weather might unexpectedly play a part in a couple of crucial matches. Yeah, let's just keep our fingers crossed that that's not the case. John, what are you looking forward to most in the tournament? You're, of course, heading over there to cover the matches for Arab News. What are you looking forward to on your time in India? I'm looking forward to seeing some individual players live for the first time. One of those on my list is Barbara Azam, and I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Stokes, of course. And as a trying to be neutral about all of this. There are a number of other players that I've, particular quick bowlers, I've not seen live in this sort of competition before. So that's really what I'm looking forward to, rather than some of the big matchups. India-Pakistan, of course, is one that tip of everybody's tongue. Matches between them were disappointing. One was very effective, of course, in the Asia Cup. There might be a bit too much pressure on those, so I'm going for individuals rather than teams as things to look forward to.
Can you stick your neck out and pick a winner for us, John?
Most people, I think, are going to go for India, and I think it's difficult to look beyond them. I'm going to stick my neck out and go not quite left field, but I'm going to go for Australia.
Why is that?
Because they know how to handle pressure. They're fierce competitors. They've got a strong lineup, aggressive batting, some people who want to go out on a high at their ends of their career. I just think they have the mettle to be able to deal with the extreme pressure that comes with these competitions.
Well, I'll jump off the fence and say I think it's going to be an England-India final.
Oh.
And I suspect India will get across the line. But if we do get an England-India final, that will be a wonderful occasion with the defending champions up against the hosts. It's probably the dream final for this particular tournament. And, maybe I'll keep a note of our recordings here, John, and we'll play them back when we do a podcast on the eve of the final and see just how right our predictions were.
See who's got a red face.
Absolutely. So there we are, the Cricket World Cup to look forward to, and the Wicket podcast will be back throughout the tournament to bring you news and views as the greatest show in cricket rolls across India over the next month or so. Thanks very much for your company, and if you've enjoyed this chat, then please like and subscribe. Finally, on behalf of myself, Brian Murgatroyd, and Jon Pike, thanks for your company, and we look forward to you joining us next time.